So, hey, all, on this occasion of World Zoonotic Day, we have with us the very renowned veterinarian and India's top expert in the field, Dr. Uday Kakru, with us. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for this time you have given
Thank
us
you.
for this interaction. And so, before we dive into the session, I'm very curious to know that how the whole idea of getting into the veterinarian sciences has come to you, and how this journey had been for you.
See, I went into this veterinary sciences because I had a very childhood love for the animals. I used to pick any dog or anything whosoever I would see on the roadside looking for something. I would try to bring it home. So, resulted was that was the basic motivation. And I started my career way back. Well, I graduated in 1977. I'm a 64-year-old person. So that time, veterinary was not so keenly followed because mostly the people will go for either medical if they are into biological sciences, or they will go for engineering. But somehow I had a love and I got a chance, so I went into this. That's how the journey started. And later I belonged to Jammu and Kashmir. So I joined the Department of Animal Husbandry in Srinagar. And before our migration in 1990, I post-graduated from College of Veterinary Sciences, Pantnagar in 1987. Was a practicing veterinarian in J&K in Srinagar area. But then we had to migrate. So that's how the life changed. I went to I came in touch with the medical professionals, and there I found out that they have a very little knowledge so far as animal diseases are there. Because basically animal diseases other than rabies, they don't have much information about it. Even if they know, but they are not able to follow it properly. They don't study it in their subjects also. They have one or two chapters on the zoonotic diseases, that's all.
Yes,
So
sir.
that was the motivation that I went into this zoonotic disease awareness and scientific update programs.
Right, so that was very interesting and a long journey that you have led till now. And so, like, what is your vision for this particular field, or in the field of zoonotic disease? What are your plans for future?
See, zoonotic disease, first of all, we have to understand it's not restricted to animals only. Because the word zoonotic means diseases which are communicable from animals to human. Be it animals means all life forms, like it is birds also come under that, domestic pet animals also come, wild animals also come. So that is one. Number two, there is a reverse zoonosis also. We also, as human beings, also give diseases to the animals. So
Yes.
the word zoonosis has come in 2004 when there was a WHO meeting saying how zoonosis, the animals and interaction is increasing with each passing day. Like animals have always lived along with the human beings since ages, centuries. So the diseases were also recognized, and today you'll be surprised that more than 70% of the microbiological pathogens have an animal origin.
Yes, sir.
So that is how the impact and the importance of zoonotic diseases have come. Now, for last 2 decades, you might have seen ever since there has been a lot of hue and cry because sometimes bird flu is coming, sometimes swine flu is coming. So all the diseases, then when it started crossing the species barrier, means from animals to the human. So then only, and it started taking a lot of epidemiological toll on the human being. So the concerns started coming world over. So
Yes.
that's how this science has now become a One Health. Because in
Right.
2008, WHO redefined it as a One Health because it involves all the sectors. Means human being, the animals, the birds, the environment, and the agriculture, everything, every life form is involved in this. Because the viruses or the pathogens, they travel, they need a catalyst in between or a secondary uh, host to make it another host. So that's how it's evolving.
Yes, so very nicely explained the concept of One Health, and I think, I mean, now that we are in the in the middle of a pandemic, although the world knows it as a viral disease, but we all know that the origin or the vector for this particular disease was a fruit bat. So,
Yes,
so humans, as you said, that there is reverse zoonosis as well. So humans also transmit diseases to the animals.
yes.
So, I mean, like there is a barrier in between animals and humans. So, sir, how much do you believe that we humans, are responsible for the spread of these zoonotic diseases?
See, I'll tell you a simple an example that can answer the question. For example, today we are living in metro cities, big
Yes.
cities. We have come down from different smaller cities, villages, everything, and tried to settle down in the big cities for the sake of our livelihood or studies or anything.
Yes.
So what's happening when we have overcrowded a place? So we look for the spaces where we have to live. Resultant, we are going into, we are changing the land use pattern. That means if the agricultural land was being used, it was a forest land, it was a grassland, we are changing the pattern and trying to build the houses and residential places for the human being. So what's happening? When you are going into the agriculture field, if you have an experience of visiting an agricultural field and look at it very closely, you'll find there are so many insects that are still roaming around.
Yes.
And even snakes are there, all types of the smaller life forms you will find. Even you will find there's a water pots here and there, you will find some fish also there. You will find stray animals, you will find some sorts of the birds and other things. So when we have enclosed their land, resultant is that they have to sustain, they have to live, change their pattern as well, because we have encroached into their territory. So for encroachment, that they have to adopt somewhere. Like human being is adopting in another place. If we have come from one city to another city, we are adopting that city as our home. So that's what is happening around with the pathogens also. If if we take an example of this COVID, we say, though it's not yet scientifically determined, they have not been able to find the host, but we say it has come, a host of a primary host was the bat. So from that, it came to the human being. Result in it came from bat to the Mongolians and then to human being. That's what the general theory is being promoted.
Yes, sir.
Means had the human not gone into that area, got the bat, or we have not encroached it. So it was staying there. It must have been staying there for any number of the years, because that has, every animal, every human being has its own antibody response, its own immunity. So they can sustain, they cannot sustain. It's there. So that's how it has jumped the species. Similarly, you find, for example, see this mosquito balls. When there's an outbreak of the mosquitoes and this, the diseases have started coming, because the mosquito by itself doesn't suffer. It acts as a, you can say, co-host, carrier. And that is basically the basic reason why all over the world you will find there's a hue and cry. Because ultimately we give it to the climate or environmental factors also. This is an environmental factor. Huh?
Right, sir.
Today I am living in Noida. It was previously 10, 20 years back. It must have been a agriculture field.
Correct. Yeah.
That's how
So,
it's going.
yeah. So, like you mentioned that One Health is not not a concept which includes only one stakeholder. So, what I understand here is that One Health is a multi-sectoral branch. So how
Yes.
different stakeholders should come together, and how this multi-sectoral framework should be strengthened to, curb the emergence of zoonotic diseases in the future? Because in the past 2 decades, as you rightly mentioned, that most of the diseases that humans have faced are coming from animals, be it Nipah, be it swine flu. So, sir, how this
Yes.
whole multi-sectoral model should be strengthened, and what should be the responsibility of each stakeholder to, curb this spread of epidemic or pandemic of future zoonotic diseases?
See, first of all, intersectoral collaboration or coordination is very important. It's not specific to only medical doctors. It's not specific to veterinary sectors. It is specific equally to agriculture sector, equally to forest, equally to environmental. All these bodies have to be there. The basic where we find a gap, that is our surveillance, because every what we are trying to do with these new diseases coming at such a faster pace, uh, we are just sometimes see okay, it has happened, come in USA, it may not come to India, but we simultaneously forget that there has been so much of the increase in the travel of both animals as well as the human being. So carrying a disease from one place to another place has become much easier because of this. So all sectors have to strengthen their surveillance. Surveillance means, as you are also know, we are today in the midst of the COVID pandemic. We have to go to, say, to another city, airport, train, these public transport places, which is being controlled by tourism or by the railways or by the transport departments. So they are also one of the, they have to carry out the surveillance as we get the guidelines. By temperature has to be seen. So what's that? That's actually intersectoral collaboration. Because unless there is surveillance, then only they will know whether the animal which is going or the human being is going, whether that's sick or that's having so many sort of infections which he is carrying. So we don't have to, what I mean in nutshell is that surveillance has to be strengthened. Then only you will know that this thing has happened here or this thing is going to happen, because then you have a data collection. When data is there, it is easier for scientists and researchers to analyze it.
Correct.
Because they know that this is a pattern. For example, I give you today Nipah, it is found in the Kerala only. But there was a big crack how fruit bats traveled from Bangladesh, where Nipah was already there, to Kerala. They don't have so much of the flight, they can't travel 1,000, 1,500 kilometers, 2,000 kilometers at one time. So there has to be some other, you can say, factor which has carried, which they have not been able to ascertain as it. But surveillance is there. We know this is restricted, disease is restricted to this area. And fruit bat means the fruits are there. So horticulture department gets involved there. They have to take a survey of how many bats are in their area. You understand my point? So that's how things have to move. Unless we strengthen, then only we can know, okay, this disease can be prevented or this disease is knocking at our doors. What we call it as an emerging disease. What may be seen in Maharashtra may not be seen in Delhi. But in Delhi, it is under the risk. That's how the system has to move.
So, like we have seen in past that whatever diseases that have come from animals, like the zoonotic diseases, they had bigger impact. But pandemic, if we see this COVID, has been the largest impact on human race in past few years. So, sir, how do you believe that the concept of One Health will change in future post-COVID era?
See, what COVID has given us an opportunity for all sectors to come together.
Right.
Previously, like we were working in this sector since 2008, we would always say, yes, all the sectors have to work closely, share their research and detail. But in most of the cases, you won't be working so closely. There are policies already around and this, but the execution implementation is somewhat weaker. With this COVID, one thing has become clear. irrespective of whether the disease is there or disease come, it can take any dimensions. You are not free from any risks. Tomorrow, any other disease can come which can have the similar dimension. We cannot go back by after 100 years, the next pandemic will come. Because the disease pattern is changing at a very, very much faster pace. So we had, that is what, and then it depends upon the government policy backup support, how much you are getting. Because it's not only that usually you may be willing to work on this, share research, work jointly. But there has to be a total policy, total government policy, backup policy, then only these things move at a coordinated and in uniform pace. So that is what is expected to be done. That should be made it mandatory.
Yeah.
Irrespective, you are an animal lover or you are not an animal lover, you must always guard yourself. Because you have to understand today you cannot say, well, you just don't know what disease you may acquire from animal or you may give back to the animal. Particularly their pets are being in the home of people places, there are more, cats are more loud than the human being. So one thing that has to go, okay, all animals you are at risk of getting any disease from any animal. So you have to follow strict hygiene and sanitation rules, both for the animal as well as for yourself. Not that you will say, okay, you have to equally keep healthy sanitation and hygiene to the animal also. That's one. Number two, so far as following a career in veterinary is there, veterinary is going to be the biggest, you can say, in coming times. This will be the most preferred research profession that will be followed world over. Why? Because unless a veterinarian is there, the human being will never know what type of diseases the animal is going to carry or to pass on. Because now we are finding even diseases which were controlled centuries back, they are also coming back. Correct. So this profession has a very, very larger scope to follow from the research point of view as well as from the professional, you can say, this practice point of view. So that thing has to be, because in world of everywhere except in India, they are joint animal veterinary associations are there. There is in India, we are a different association, but separately, but they are pretty close. So from the carrier point of view, from the people, you have to treat animal or any type of animal. You just cannot kill. Sometimes we find we kill rats and then throw them on the roadside. That you have to be very careful in the disposal, irrespective whether it's a house rat or it has come from the wild. Because now the things have moved in such a way, world over, any disease can be carried from anywhere to anywhere because of the communication that has increased. Previously, there used not to be so much of the travel between the continents or even between the cities. But now it has become very important. Tourism has geared up and everywhere you'll find. Thirdly, environment you have to keep. You have to try to not encroach into the other area. Trespassing has to be minimized as much as possible.
Right. So it was very nice interacting with you. I am definitely sure that our viewers will get a good knowledge from this interactive session. Thank you for giving us your time, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.